Reparations have taken center stage as Democrats in America renew debate over the legacy of slavery and how it can be paid for in the 2020 United States elections. On the other side, also the United Nations has said reparations must be paid to African Americans. So the momentum now for the new 2020 presidential elections in America has arrived for the Democrats. Do they support reparations? It marks a turn in the primary contest in which black voters are expected to play a significant role. You can read a lot of this stuff from this website. This preacher Rabbi Elem Dumizulu of Committee Buru Ethics discussing the issue of reparations. Are reparations the best on evils for slavery and colonization? Is monetary repayment of 1.5 million United States dollars to every black person in America today alive the best option? Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, this is a very serious issue for us today. First, what's reparations? From the Oxford Dictionary, this word is a noun for the actions of making amends for a wrong one has done by providing payment or other assistance to those who have been wronged. There are so many synonyms: amends, restitution, redress, compensation, recompense, repayment, atonement, indemnification, indemnity, damages. There is a range of ways in which offenders may make reparations to their victims. But this is a very dicey question because reparations is something that is tricky. Africans on the other hand, black people on the other hand, and many other people have sought reparations. You can visit this page. Others have received reparations, but the black people have received nothing at all. Nothing at all. We know that the Jews have received reparations from Germany. Reparations were signed on September 10, 1952 and entered in force on 27 March 1953. You can read this from the Wikipedia that is shown. According to the agreement, West Germany was to pay Israel for the costs of resettling so great a number of uprooted and destitute Jewish refugees after the war, and to compensate individual Jews via the Conference on Jewish Material Claims against Germany for losses in Jewish livelihood and property resulting from the Nazi persecution. That's how it was worded, and that's how it is working. Let us look at this from three very interesting facts when we consider ourselves as black people, which almost all the advocates of reparations never start from. They ignore who owns the United Nations. They do not look at who owns all the cash on earth today. They also do not incorporate others who must pay and also be paid. That's the problem with the reparation movement today. But there is a fundamental blindness to another factor that we shall bring concerning reparations. So who owns the United Nations? Who was paying and giving this money? It's the Rockefellers. The Rockefellers owns the United Nations. So the United Nations initiative for a decade for black people or people of African descent, 2015 to 2024, explicitly posited that slavery, the slave trade, colonialism, apartheid, and genocide have a legacy that needs to be faced. The same people, the same club from the same members are advocating that we should pay. And also the black people are saying they want to receive. But let us think seriously about this. On the other hand, millions of black folk working hard for reparations never address other factors like the issues of other indigenous black people, colonization and genocide, the reparations by white Arabs, and their continuous occupation of African lands. They just want reparations and that's it. Pro-reparations movements like the National African American Reparations Commission, they're doing a good job. They've got an initiative where they want to raise funds for that. But it is high time our governments tell the truth, that there was no Middle East, and that Muslims must always be known as enslavers and the colonizers of Africa. That's one point that must be known even by pro-reparations, people that are fighting for reparations. White Arabs may have enslaved more black people than others. You can study this slide from this website, American Institute for History Education. Islamic slave trade is like Dubrovnik, Arab and Turkish slave traders who purchase slaves to sell throughout Arabia and Ottoman Empire. They give this is a very conservative figure. 14 million Africans were taken to Muslim regions and sold. Most were young women who were sold into harems. Enslaved men were castrated. Some were killed, and they were not allowed to breed. That's why there are no black people all over there. Many Africans were taken by Islam and the Muslims and white Arab slave traders from the west of Africa, as shown here, and also the east of Africa. Millions they were taken into slavery and killed and destroyed by white Arabs. And every black person who is a Muslim, who thinks that Islam is his religion, must understand that it is an enslaving religion that destroyed African civilization and otherwise enslaved more black people than even Christians. We see that over 600 million black people were killed by Muslims, and also over 400 million by Christians who took them into the Western Caribbean, into America, as well as into Southern America. There is clear portrait of Arab slave traders. Modern Arabs today, they still hate black people. In many Arab countries, they still officially abuse black people and enslave black people. It is Europe and Europeans at this point in time that are standing up against that form of slavery. We should highlight that. While it's black leadership in Africa, the African Union is even giving the Egyptians, the Arabs, the leadership of the African Union. And not talking about this, they are quiet about it. In Libya, black people are being destroyed and killed, yet Libya is an African country. There was no Middle East. No Middle East at all. There they are in Libya. They're killing, destroying, castrating, abusing, getting organs from our brothers. Only Europe and European non-governmental organizations is standing up to the shock of everybody. They didn't start enslaving yesterday. They started it long back. But before any reparations, we must realize that unfortunately, as of now, millions of black people on earth have been brainwashed. Therefore, this time, we are a seriously vulnerable species. There's some evidence. You look at this one. Wait, did you say that you are worshipping the God of your brutal and racist enslavers and colonizers? That makes as much sense as a woman that has been brutally raped, then marrying her brutal rapists. She would have to be first brainwashed by a rapist to believe this. Even some of our brothers and cousins in America, the indigenous Americans, they say they are not Africans. Yet they are. They are Bantus. You look at this one, she looks more original. She's the original American. Over 50 million were killed. We still have to think of reparations of the Taino, the Arawak, and many, many other people whom Columbus found and the Spanish found in the Americans. We are vulnerable adults. Many black people are afraid to think for themselves. They refuse to look at facts, so they never have to admit to themselves that they might be wrong. Many see what they want to see and believe what they want to believe, and they fight vigorously to defend those whose beliefs, no matter how ridiculous, absurd they were, discarded by them. You see, these black Hebrew Israelites, they say we believe our enslavers' Bible will liberate us, and they read the scriptures in the Torah which they were given by the enslaver. And you see here others, they say we are not from Africa, we are the real native Americans. That's what they think. That's what they've been programmed to think. And some say here, we know the Bible is true because our sinful enslavers said so. You can study more from this website here. Fantastic website. Brutal conditions accompanied our ancestors in the Middle Passage. When they crossed across the oceans, everywhere in lands, in Bagamoyo in Tanzania, we were brutalized, mistreated, forced to live for weeks without food, without water, living in a space smaller than our grave. Our mothers menstruating in one place, giving birth in one place, destroyed. Our personality was destroyed during that time. And that cannot be compensated by any form whatsoever today. We have been dissociated from ancestral memory. We live in pain today. Every black person on earth lives in pain, spiritual pain, exacerbated by the system of enslavement. Post-traumatic slave syndrome, Dr. J. DeGroy said that. explained that in her book thoroughly. It's clear when you study this that as black people, it's high time we know and understand this. Memorialization. That's what we need. To resolve this issue first, there must be public, genuine, and admission of black Holocaust committed against all African people by Europe, white Arabs, United States, Muslims, Christians, Jews, and intra-race hegemony by African sellout chiefs. The brutality of enslavement and colonization must be commemorated annually for 5 days from March the 20th to March the 25th. It should be an annual commemorative week. Now, let us look at the hard questions. Who must receive reparations? Here's the answer. No one should receive reparations until something has been done. How do we win reparations? This is the secondary stage of the first, of who and how do we win them. We will give the primary stage first in conclusion. That's what we will do in conclusion. Who are the fundamental recipients? If we identify the type of restitution we may accept, all indigenous people on earth must be compensated. In all honesty, we do not need monetary reparations. We'll give the reasons. All occupied lands must be given back unconditionally to indigenous owners. These include the Middle East must be given back to the black people. There was no Middle East. United States must be given back to the black people. Australia, New Zealand, Pacific Islands, China, all must give back their land to the black people. After that, a new economic model must be agreed upon the whole earth. All industrial systems must be opened up to black people. Monetary, military, fair re-education of history that emphasizes that black people are the first citizens on earth who founded ancient civilization in Africa, Egypt, Sumeria, India, and the Americas must be taught with no protest or with no amendments. Money as reparations. Why should we never accept money as reparations? Where does money come from? If you discover that money grows on trees, money is made from trees. It grows on trees. Money is made from paper. Paper comes from trees. So yes, money does grow on trees. Get it on Whisper Meme. So, at the end of the day, we cannot accept papers, pieces of papers, despite the good art on them, to pay for the pain, the brutality, and destruction of our race. But who owns all the money on earth anyway? Because money is a symbol of power. One family holds the monopoly to issue all fiat currency in the world. This is what black African leaders are not telling us. That the Rothschild family holds about 80% of the world's total wealth. And they are so rich that this one family has the ability to literally feed, clothe, and settle every human being on earth today and remain with a lot of change. So I'm sure Bar Rothschild is the one who came up with a plan to take over the financial system of the earth. Here is what he said. Permit me to issue and control the money of a nation, and I care not who makes the laws. So this is the current status we have. Therefore, reparations even in trillions of dollars is not anything. The printing machines may get hot, but other than that, someone will be washing off their guilt and will be selling our ancestors for paper. We'll be Judas Iscariots and will be far worse stupid and enter into spiritual enslavement, because after reparations, they'll enact laws that will prohibit anyone talking or anyone learning or anyone saying anything about colonization and enslavement. You would actually be jailed for talking about enslavement because they've already paid you for that. In conclusion, therefore, let us look at this table briefly. You can see that many others have been compensated and received reparations. But from 1865 to the present day in the United States, there have been actually Jim Crow laws and zero payment, and African Americans and black descendants were not paid anything. Why? Because we are the weakest of all races today, with absolute zero bargaining power. Monetary reparations is a non-starter. Real reparations will be possibly only if we become the best race in all systems by fighting to the top. What must we do? Unite. What must we do individually? Dump Christianity, Judaism, and Islam and everything else today and incorporate your ancestors. First step. Focus on re-education. Know your true history. Reactivate your identity via your totem, mathematics, and the heavy sciences. To start off, you must rediscover your totem and know who is the true creator of your ancestor. There are many resources at our disposal to move forward and eventually gain real reparations. Hamiti Hebrew ethics teaches the way to institute first individual reparations, which will eventually lead to full racial reparations. Instead of fighting for racial reparations, let us always remind each other loudly and clearly and publicly that the Europeans and white Arabs committed the greatest genocide ever by any species. They slaughtered and continue to murder billions of black people on earth. It is time for us, all brown, dark, and black people, to unite as a matter of urgency. This is Priest Rabbi Elem Tumizulu of Committee Hebrew Ethics. Subscribe to our channel and contact us on our email. Thank you. Have great reparations individually. Goodbye.